It started like any other day for Maya. She had just finished a long string of meetings and was ready to catch her breath. Walking into the airport, she held her ticket tightly in her hand. She was dressed simply, a soft sweater, jeans, and comfortable shoes. Nothing fancy, but neat and professional. Her plan was to relax in the VIP lounge before her flight. She deserved it after all the hard work. The thought of sitting in a quiet room, sipping a drink, and waiting peacefully, was a small comfort. But then, as she stepped into the lounge, everything changed. A security guard noticed her right away. Instead of a polite smile or a greeting, he walked straight toward her with a stern look on his face. He didn't ask for her ticket or ID. He didn't say hello, he just stared at her, scanning her from head to toe, like she didn't belong. Then, in a voice loud enough for everyone nearby to hear, he said, "You don't belong here." Maya froze. The words hit her like a punch to the stomach. People around them stopped what they were doing and turned to look. Some whispered, some stared openly. The atmosphere shifted. She could feel the weight of their eyes. Her heart sank. She felt small, invisible, humiliated, all at once. All she wanted was to rest. But right now, she didn't even feel safe, and that was just the beginning. Maya took a deep breath, trying to keep calm. She looked the security guard straight in the eye and said, "I have a first-class ticket. I'm allowed in here." He let out a sharp scoff. "A coach upgrade doesn't make you VIP, he sneered. "Stop pretending." Maya's chest tightened. She reached slowly into her bag and pulled out her ID badge. She held it up for him to see, hoping this would end the humiliation. But the guard didn't even glance at it. Instead, he pointed toward the exit with a hard look. "People like you don't belong here," he said, his voice cold and loud. Her hands began to shake. She clutched her bag tighter, the weight of his words crushing her spirit. She fought back tears, feeling the sting behind her eyes. She didn't want to cry in front of everyone. Not here, not now. Slowly, she turned and started to walk away. Whispers floated through the air behind her, quiet, but filled with judgment. Eyes followed her every step. Some were filled with pity, others with suspicion. Maya's shoulders felt heavy, as if the whole room was pressing down on her. She forced herself to keep her head high, even though inside, she was breaking. The place where she came for peace had become a stage for her shame. But little did the guard, or anyone else know, this moment would not define her. It was just the start of something much bigger. Sitting just outside the lounge, Maya sank down onto a bench, trying to steady her breath. The embarrassment still burned in her chest. Her mind drifted back to another time, years ago when she was just a teenager. She remembered walking into a store, hoping to find something nice for herself. But after a few minutes, a manager approached her. Without a word, he told her to leave. Just like that, she was confused and hurt. Why? She hadn't done anything wrong, she was only looking, but the looks from other shoppers told her the truth. They were judging her, watching her every move like she was a threat. She had felt invisible and unwanted, treated like she didn't belong. And now, years later, the same feeling was creeping back. After all her hard work, all she had built, it still happened. The world still saw her in the same way, before they saw her talent, her success, or her worth. Maya closed her eyes and whispered to herself, "Not this time, not anymore." Maya pulled out her phone, her fingers trembling. She didn't want to show how shaken she was, but she needed to talk to someone. She dialed her assistant's number and waited, her breath catching. When the call connected, she barely managed to whisper, "It happened again." Her assistant's voice immediately changed, filled with anger and disbelief. "What? Again? That's unacceptable. Do you want me to report it? To the airport? To security?" Maya swallowed hard. She thought about it. Reporting felt right, but she knew it wouldn't solve the real problem. Not this time. She took a deep breath, steadying her voice. "No, I'm flying out on the next flight. But please book me a meeting with the regional manager at that airport, as soon as possible." Her assistant was quiet for a moment, then said, "Got it, I'll set it up." Maya ended the call, and stared at her reflection in the phone screen. She looked tired, hurt, but also determined. This wasn't just about one security guard or one lounge, it was about standing up. About making sure this didn't happen to her, or anyone else again. She had a plan. It was time to use the power she had quietly built. Maya wasn't just going to be a victim, she was going to be the change. On the plane, Maya stared out the window, watching the clouds drift by. The hum of the engines filled the quiet cabin, but her mind was elsewhere. She thought about everything she had been through to get here. The long nights spent working while others slept, the countless times people had ignored her ideas or shut her out. Doors slammed in her face, not because she wasn't good enough, but because of who she was. Then came the breakthrough. A small regional airline was struggling, on the edge of collapse. No one believed it could be saved. No one thought she'd be the one to take it on, but Maya did. She bought the company, became the owner. It was a huge risk, and a huge victory. She kept this part of her life quiet, letting her team handle the daily work. She didn't want the spotlight, just the chance to prove herself. But now, after what happened at the lounge, it was time to show up. To remind the world who she really was, not just a traveler or a customer, but a leader. A business owner. Someone who belonged, everywhere. The moment had come for Maya to step out of the shadows, and claim her space. A week later, Maya walked back into the same airport, the same tired walls, the same bustling crowds, and there it was, the VIP lounge. The place where she had been so cruelly rejected, but this time things were different. Around her neck hung a badge, not just any badge, it had her name printed clearly. Bold letters underneath read, CEO, Horizon Wings Airline. She took a deep breath, and stepped inside the lounge with confidence she hadn't felt before. The security guard who had kicked her out before, looked up. For a moment he froze. His eyes widened in shock, then narrowed in confusion. He took a step forward, ready to say something. But Maya met his gaze with a steady, silent look, that stopped him in his tracks. She didn't say a word, she let the badge speak for itself. The room felt different this time. The whispers started again, but now they were filled with surprise. The man who had dismissed her now seemed unsure how to act. Maya held her ground. She was no longer the woman they thought they knew. This was her moment, and she was ready. Maya took a steady step forward, and asked the nearest staff member, "Could I speak with the lounge supervisor, please?" Within minutes, a man appeared, his face tight with nervousness. He clearly hadn't expected a visitor like this, especially not one wearing a CEO badge. Maya smiled calmly, and extended her hand. "I'm Maya Johnson, CEO of Horizon Wings Airline." She handed over her credentials. The manager took them hesitantly, eyes flickering with surprise as he read the official ID. Then, without breaking eye contact, Maya turned toward the security guard, who had humiliated her days before. "Do you remember me?" she asked quietly. The guard blinked, caught off guard. His voice wavered as he said, I don't." Maya's voice stayed calm but firm. "You threw me out of this lounge, without even looking at my ID. You said people like me don't belong here." A flush spread across the guard's face, his confident posture crumbled. He stammered, I'm sorry. I didn't mean." Before he could finish, the manager stepped in, clearing his throat nervously. "What is it you want, Miss Johnson?" he asked. Maya glanced around the room. The lounge had gone silent. Everyone was watching. She took a breath, her voice steady and clear. "I want a meeting with your head of airport operations. Today." The room held its breath. This was more than a simple apology. It was a call for change, and Maya wasn't backing down. At the meeting with the head of airport operations and several officials, Maya spoke openly and honestly. She told them everything, how she had been kicked out of the lounge, how it made her feel small and invisible, and how it wasn't just about her. "This happens to people who look like me every day," she said, her voice steady, but filled with emotion. "It's about respect. You can't teach class or kindness, but you can train respect." The room was filled with airport officials, their faces attentive and serious as Maya spoke. She took a deep breath, steadying herself before sharing the deeper truth behind her experience. It wasn't just about one security guard, or one VIP lounge, it was about the countless moments when people are judged, pushed aside, and made to feel invisible. All because of the color of their skin, their background, or how others perceive them. Maya's voice was calm but firm, as she explained. These moments don't just hurt the person standing there, they build walls between people. Walls of misunderstanding, fear, and mistrust. Airports should be places where everyone feels welcome, no matter who they are, or where they come from. They should be places of kindness and respect. She paused and looked around the room, catching the eyes of those listening. Some nodded quietly, understanding the weight of her words. Others seemed to be hearing this truth for the first time. The silence that followed was heavy, filled with the gravity of what Maya had just said. Finally, the head of operations spoke, his voice low and sincere. "Miss Johnson, we are deeply sorry for what happened to you. No one should ever be treated that way. It was wrong, and it shouldn't have happened." He went on to explain the steps the airport was taking. The security guard who had confronted Maya was now under review. He would be sent for retraining immediately, training that would focus not only on rules and procedures, but on respect and understanding. But the changes went further than just one man. The airport was introducing a new policy. All VIP lounge staff, security personnel, and customer service employees would be required to undergo mandatory diversity and customer treatment training. This wasn't just a one-time lesson. It was a commitment to changing the culture, to making sure no one else would have to endure what Maya went through. As Maya listened, a small wave of relief washed over her. This was more than just an apology, it was a promise of change, a real effort to fix a broken system. She felt a quiet strength rising within her. For so long, she had carried the pain of being dismissed and judged, but now, she could see a path forward, not just for herself, but for others who face similar struggles. Leaving the meeting, Maya knew her fight was far from over. But this was a beginning, a first step towards something better, and sometimes, a start is everything. What happened next surprised Maya. The story of that day, the embarrassment, the confrontation, and the change that followed, spread quickly. But it wasn't because Maya shared it herself. She had chosen to keep her dignity quiet, to let actions speak louder than words. Instead, it was a fellow passenger, who had witnessed the incident, who posted about it on social media. The passenger's words were honest and raw, sharing what they saw, how it made them feel, and calling out the unfairness. Almost overnight, the story went viral. Thousands of people reacted, commenting and sharing their own experiences. Many revealed how they had been judged or dismissed because of their appearance, their race, or the color of their skin. Some spoke of moments filled with pain, humiliation, and silence. Maya's quiet strength and grace in the face of adversity became an inspiration. More than just sympathy, her story ignited conversations about respect, fairness, and the simple humanity that too often gets forgotten. People began to talk openly about the need for change, not only in airports but in workplaces, schools, and communities everywhere. For Maya, this was unexpected, but deeply meaningful. She had never sought attention or sympathy. What mattered most was that her experience could help others feel seen and heard. She realized that her story was no longer just about her. It belonged to everyone who had ever been made to feel less than enough. Through her pain and courage, Maya had sparked a movement, a quiet but powerful reminder that respect and dignity should never be optional, and that sometimes, the greatest strength comes from standing up, speaking out, and demanding change, even when it feels like the whole world is watching. Suddenly, Maya realized her experience wasn't hers alone anymore. It had grown into something much bigger, a message that reached far beyond her own story. It became a beacon for everyone who had ever been made to feel invisible, ignored, or unworthy. People who had faced the same kind of judgment, the same painful exclusion. Maya didn't return to that VIP lounge, not because she wasn't allowed or welcome anymore. She simply didn't feel the need to prove herself to anyone there. She had already earned her place. She had built her own seat at the table, not by luck, but through years of hard work, unwavering determination, and quiet strength that no one could take away. And now, her focus had shifted. She wasn't just fighting for herself anymore. She was helping others find their own seats, their own doors to open. Months later, standing before an audience, Maya shared a message that was simple but powerful. "The world might not always see your worth," she said, her voice steady but full of feeling. "But that doesn't mean it isn't there, so build your own door, then open it for others." That painful moment at the airport, the humiliation, and the embarrassment, had transformed into a turning point. It wasn't just about Maya anymore, it was about everyone who had ever been told they didn't belong, who had ever been pushed aside because of who they were. Because sometimes, the hardest moments bring the strongest changes, and Maya's story, it was just the beginning of something much greater. If this story touched you, please like, comment, subscribe, and share. Let's spread a message of respect and strength together. If this story moved you, please take a moment to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel for more powerful stories like this. Have you ever faced a moment where you were judged unfairly, only to rise above it? We'd love to hear your experience. Share it in the comments below, and don't forget to share this video with someone who might need to hear this message today. Together we can spread strength, hope, and respect.